or not, that is something that comes out. Kennen instantly removed from the pool by G2. Zach, the reply. And it feels like Zach, Galio, Xayah / Recon kind of are like red side bans.
Okay, so G2 actually just ban away Thresh. Don't want to risk it even being open and then force into maybe not picking it early. Obviously, we are looking at Elise as a very high tier pick, but not necessarily for Trick specifically, and that's always one of the funny things about specific players to kind of move a little bit away from the S tier picks.
Yeah.
PerkZ is the same. You know, we don't see Lee Sin Elise very often from him. Don't think we've actually ever seen him play Lee Sin.
Nope.
But enough about him because he's not in this game. He's playing later today. Let's see what this. Yeah. So actually they ban Elise, as we just talked about with. Obviously, Trick not being the biggest.
What is G2 thinking about for a first pick?
Galio first pick is definitely very likely. Looking at the current champions being available as S-tier pick, Syndra is also up there, but you don't have to necessarily first pick her. Otherwise, Xayah, of course, with Rakan being open, is something you have to look at. It's about time that Zven shows us his Xayah, because they've been banning it in almost every game so far. I think Galio now, because of Rakan ban, is a good choice from G2. Still a good flex pick.
But there was an insta-hover on that Xayah. Maybe it's something
they realized
thinking
Rakan was
about.
banned. Rakan was banned, so.
Take that one away from Zven or Mithy. Galio on the side of G2 Esports. We've seen Galio flex multiple times. Where do you think it's going to land? Will it be expected in the top lane most likely?
I think most likely expected in the top lane. He's normally doing really well on these different tanks. Misfits, I'd like to see Ashe coming in again. I think Ashe was really good for them. Same can be said about the Lee Sin for Maxlore. Sadly, no Thresh. So they can't run the same pick comp.
Yeah.
But I think Hansama, outside of one arrow they missed in the bottom lane, he landed the rest. And they used that to start some really good fights for Misfits. So I wouldn't mind seeing that same pick again, just because she is so safe. And you can then wait with other picks.
There we go. So Hansama and Maxlore are going to have the ability to impact game number 2 of this series. G2 did not go for the Kha'Zix in the previous game. I believe it was available. No, it was banned. Phase 2.
They didn't take it in the first phase.
Yep.
Saved pick for later. Oh, is it going to be Zven Xayah?
Is it okay?
Yes, definitely.
With what other supports then?
I mean, you can lane her basically with everything. Like, you can play Blitzcrank with Xayah, and it's actually really good. It's a combo we've seen in LCK. You can also play a lot of the different range supports with her. Like, she's all fine on her own. And I'm actually really excited we get to see Zven play her now, because he did ban her the first few weeks due to his lack of practice on it. Misfits can take the Syndra, like we saw last time. Oh, that could also show us.
Yeah,
okay.
There we go. IgNar's not going to have the Thresh, but it's Blitz instead.
It's also just to avoid G2 maybe pinching supports or G2 taking Blitzcrank on their own later on, in case Misfits wouldn't be in a position to actually take it due to other picks being available. But early Blitzcrank here means no Syndra pick from PowerOfEvil. He could have done exactly what PerkZ did to him in the last game, but he didn't go for it. So instead, it is not a traditional 2v2 lane. Ashe and Blitzcrank.
And what is the reply from Mithy? Because what do you do with Xayah against Ashe and Blitzcrank? These are all brand new questions, but because Blitz is legit. We've never had to ask that question at this level.
Here's the beautiful thing about playing against Blitzcrank is it opens up for so many different supports. Nunu support, Tarek support, Galio support, like a lot of these melee supports that don't do well against poke lanes actually work against Blitzcrank, because he's of course an all-in support.
Yep.
So there are so many choices for Mithy right now. Braum can also just be locked in.
I mean, Tarek is banned away.
Just mention him, they ban him away right there. I still want to see Alistar get picked into Blitzcrank, but man, we did nerf Alistar a lot.
So, does Mithy take the Galio and expect play something else, or does Mithy just run the Braum? He ran it in game number 1.
At this point, impossible to predict. Impossible to predict
but
right
you
now.
have to Deficio.
Well, I said Tarek and they banned it.
Okay, you did indeed. You did indeed. Tarek has pulled out during MSI, and Mithy had some game-changing plays. Renekton, is this an anticipation into the Galio? Most likely.
Maybe it's also just a safe blind pick when Kennen is banned. Gnar has been a choice for some top laners against it. Jax is not a champion we see very often right now. I can see you already getting super excited.
I'm so hopeful. I'm so hopeful.
Sadly for you, you get the least exciting of the potential supports against a Blitzcrank.
And also it means it's going to be a mid lane pick here for PerkZ. So he's going to run the possibility, or he's got potential to be counterpicked here.
Well, let's see. LeBlanc is open as a potential blind pick from. Taliyah is actually the one I would like to see from them. Also against a lane like Blitzcrank, because you can gank that lane so easily. Like, he doesn't offer enough peel to really stop that. And I think Taliyah is also an okay blind pick to lock in. It is going to be Galio mid, though. PerkZ accepts the fact that he's now a support on his team. And we get the Rumble top against Renekton.
Yeah, that's not super exciting.
No, you do not get excited about this draft. It is a fine draft by G2.
It makes perfect sense.
You just do not get excited about it. Like,
it is meta, it is powerful, and Galio mid is something that we are seeing more and more.
Just like with Blitzcrank, there's a lot of different counter picks available. Galio mid actually offers the same thing, where some of the things that people can play against it, from like, I don't know, Yasuo to Vladimir's and everything, like, it makes it really fun if someone is feeling it. But in this game, on this pick and ban phase, Hussein Moosvi behind Misfits Gaming Line-up is saying, we're gonna keep it fairly standard. It's the Cassiopeia.
What I love about this pick and ban is it is actually fairly standard in the meta right now. We just very rarely get to see this exact kind of matchup in Europe. So that's what I'm excited to see. PerkZ on that Galio mid, he's currently got the teleport with his flash as far as the summoner spells are concerned, but there is so much damage everywhere else on the G2 lineup. On the side of Misfits, however, it's more traditional. That bully top laner, bully mid laner, and the all-in kill you bottom lane.
I just love that his meta fits IgNar so well that he can actually play a lot of these different supports that can create picks for his team. If he's pulling off this Blitzcrank to perfection, Misfits Gaming can do exactly what they did last game. Just find G2 eSports out of position, kill them, get the advantage, and then get that free win.
It's even easier to pull them out of position with Blitzcrank than it was on Thresh. Misfits, can they take down G2 eSports? Misfits have been feeling it all day long, and G2 have to recover from a series loss against Fnatic. How well do they bounce back from a game loss against Misfits? PerkZ v PowerOfEvil. It's game 2, Misfits versus G2.
And in Europe, Trevor, we don't actually see the European mid laners play a lot of Galio mid.
Nope.
Because a lot of the European mid laners have massive egos. So it's basically like, can I kill the enemy team with this champion? Answer is, no, not really. You're mainly here to help the rest of your team. They're like, oh, well, then I don't like it. I don't want to play it. And it's also the classic, like, red side. It's always like, guys, I really think we should try and last pick mid lane.
Yep.
I really think last pick mid lane is great here, guys. That is basically the most said phrase by any European mid laner.
Yeah, but of course, that's 6 years of muscle memory.
It's
For
fair.
6 years, European mids have had the option to do that.
I know, but now Galio mid is a thing. We've seen Nagne play it, we've seen Senkooks play it as well, so he did pick up the Galio, and now PerkZ as well, a guy who's obviously famous for his strong laning phase. Good thing for him is that Galio actually offers a very strong laning phase. He can push in Cassiopeia very easily, he can trade with her very effectively. You're just not picking this champion to be the solo carry on your team. And that is where you sometimes see these mid laners say, I don't know if I like it then.
But this is also where we get to evaluate PerkZ, a little bit of personal development, a little bit of
course,
growth, you know? He has been the carry, he has been enabled by so much of G2 for so long. Now he has to enable everybody else as well. Not something we get to see a lot, but it is something that we do expect him to be able to do. Deficio, I want to turn your attention to IgNar, the man in the bottom lane. He's got this Blitzcrank. And earlier today, we asked about that Twitter question, right? Ranking players.
Yeah.
I've actually got a tweet for you from @Scandalous. I agree with QuickShot's opinion on PowerOfEvil, but I also think that IgNar has shown the ability to be a top support in Europe.
And we have to remember, IgNar last split was voted as the #1 support in Europe. We had the awards. He was obviously on the all-pro team because he actually had a really good split. And I think a lot of people will agree that IgNar has the potential to consistently be one of the top ones. This one, he's obviously going for Xayah. He doesn't really want to hook Braum, but that means Mithy now can trade, because when you play Blitzcrank, especially level 1, once your ability is used, it's 15 seconds cooldown. You're not doing anything. You're just standing there looking like an idiot.
Yep, that window of opportunity is closed, and that allows Zven and Mithy to shove this wave out. Early level 2 for Zven and Mithy, instant reply for Hans and IgNar.
Another thing for Zven here is once he hits level 6, then Xayah is fantastic against things like Ashe, even Blitzcrank, because her ulti, of course, can be used to dodge the key arrow, the key hook. and therefore she can try and stay safe, but you gotta use it defensively then. Back to IgNar though. I mean, I really agree with the tweet, because IgNar is one of the guys we always look at and say like, man, whenever he's able to play so well in the laning phase and then actually transition that into the mid game and create picks on things like Thresh, then we think it looks really good, but it's not consistent enough for IgNar. It's definitely not this split.
All right, Winter's Bite comes out from Mithy. Rocket grab from IgNar, a lot of damage onto Mithy. Hansama looking for more. Mithy still got summoners available to him, and Hans doesn't go further.
So I have to remember Mithy sitting with a lot of potions right now. Steam for IgNar, mid lane, Maxlore!
Maxlore, Sonic Wave is flashed away from. And golf claps from the crowd. The Misfits fans erupt. Maxlore, summoner spell secured already.
And the long range of Ashe in the laning phase here, plus the volley for trading, makes her a fine pick against Xayah in the early levels. It is just after level 6. You get a little bit annoyed when you try and ulti onto Zven, but trading here is good for Hansama. You could dodge on the Q as well, and therefore IgNar is able to get the brush control. When you play support, if you get to control the brushes, then you feel like you're so powerful in lane. You feel like you're dictating when the fights are going to happen. And that's what you want to do on Blitzcrank.
Well, let's keep our eyes on this top lane. Trick is coming in to support Expect. Leaps forward, flash for flash. Flame Spitters going down. First blood picked up by Expect. Maxwell fancies his shot and misses. Interesting, by the way, Trick, he got red buff and 2 camps down bottom, recalled, and then picked up his blue. Slightly delayed clear, if I can say that. Maybe the timing, something like that, threw Alphari off.
Well, he's also doing it to avoid, you know, Kha'Zix maybe going into the bottom side. Sorry, Lee Sin going to the bottom side, taking away his crooks and then ganking the bottom lane. By him just claiming the 3 camps. It is a play I've seen quite a few times. Lulex actually did it week 1 as one of the examples.
Nice.
Go back, you know, you get your long sword, then you go in and you actually take your blue buff and look for an early gank. It's very great as a Kha'Zix if you get early kills. You don't necessarily need them, but if you get them, extra bonus for a bit of damage.
Yeah, works in favor of Trick and G2. Previous game they gave up first blood, thanks to that PowerOfEvil Maxlore combo in the mid lane. This time round, the Trick Expect duo up top shuts down Alphari. So on your Renekton, you're bullying the top lane. He's still even on CS, still even on levels, so actually marginally ahead. So that's not going to frustrate him too much just yet.
Interesting choice from Alphari, so from Expect here. Obviously saying I just need full tankiness. Actually, it's not interesting at all. I, for some reason, swapped them in my head. I was like, Alphari just went Ninja Tappy against a Rumble? Like, is he drunk or something? But it's Expect. It is the caster who's obviously a little bit weird here. I apologize for that one. Words
Good
already,
recovery, though.
Words
Good
already left my
recovery,
mouth, and I was like, wait a minute, this is really normal. Why?
Deficio, for a long time as a caster, I found myself in that scenario.
I was just like, why would he do that? Because it's unexpected.
It is unexpected. He's got the Ninja Tabi into a triple AD comp here from Misfits. And Trick is now making his way down to support or potentially counter anything the Misfits set up.
But this is still a fine lane for G2 to try and farm up to level 6 in. If Zven ever gets hooked, Mithy will jump to him and try and block some of the damage from Ashe. Important to note, Ashe as an AD carry is obviously not very burst focused. It's like, hey guys, give me time to get a few hits down and then pop my Q and then I can deal some proper damage. Not really what you want always with Blitzcrank. You kind of want instant damage. Yeah. But Ashe can't really offer that. So this Blitzcrank is more just for the roaming and pick potential in the mid to late game than specifically for the laning phase. Expect with the Ninja Tabi.
Chances starts to overheat. Look at that, a little bit of burn. Really stamping some sort of authority here. Denying a full wave of XP. Minions, rather. 51 CS to 39. So that's very, very confident play from Expect on one of his signature champions that really, he doesn't necessarily outshine many other Rumbles in Europe, but he's incredibly consistent on this champion.
It's kind of been their big thing for Expect lately. This is becoming a more solid, consistent top laner. On stage, definitely. Bottom lane, nothing's happened so far. Top lane, Alphari is struggling, also due to that early gank, and Trick is topside again, while Maxlore is trying to get level 6 as fast as possible. Trick is already there.
Let's see if anything happens there.
There we go. Maxlore got E6 as well. Might want to try and gank the no flash rumble.
Okay, no flash rumble. Support from Trick is no longer there as Trick has run down the river. Dominus is spat out by Alphari, and the equalizer's already burned through. Expect is looking to sidestep the Sonic Wave. Here comes Trick, enough time. Expect gets caught, flash, kick, all of a sudden, Misfits are on the board. Heroic entrance from PerkZ. He's looking to help out Trick. Flash forward and Trick tastes the fear of Maxlore. Now Alphari's left alone. Alphari trades one back. It's a double kill for Trick.
That was so close in the end, but Misfits getting some kills on the Renekton, that is important. Good reaction from G2 as well, and now we see actually everyone top lane. Both dual lanes, they recalled, they ran towards top lane to match each other in the swap here. Zven is level 6 now, so he's feeling much more confident. Able to dodge around the ulti from Hansama. That trade top lane though, man. Ooh.
So exciting.
Oh, baby, that was close.
Played out long enough for Trick to re-engage, and he's now the recipient of 2 of those kills.
Right, so Maxlore was getting level 6 on the camp right before here, so they noticed no flash on Expect, that's why they go for it. But this is really good kiting from Expect here. Maxlore's trying to save his Q to make sure he actually lands it and doesn't get juked to the side. But it allowed G2 to have Trick come up there, Galio to come in as well, and actually take this trade. Isolation damage, I believe, onto the Lee Sin. And then at the very end, PerkZ.
Oh, Colin Meek. Whew. That was so great from Alphari. Maxley, don't worry, boys. He's still feeling it. He's still feeling it. 0-1-1 on that Lee Sin. But his team is down 1,000 gold. We're getting close to 10 minutes. And that fight, by the way, was the first point of damage that PerkZ dealt to an enemy champion. For 7 minutes of laning phase, his Winds of War were targeted exclusively at the minions.
He's making his coach proud. He's showing I'm playing a champion where I want to play for the team.
Yep.
It's not about my damage anymore. So he's just really sticking to that and only hitting minions.
Yep, as you do with mid lane Galio for the first 15 to 20 minutes.
And then you build a lot of tanky items. You become unkillable in mid to early late game team fights.
And I particularly like the Adaptive Helm against Cassiopeia. Twin Fangs.
Yeah.
Reduce spell damage. It's an item we've debated how effective it can be. There are a limited number of champions that it's useful against.
Exactly. I agree against like Cassiopeia, Rumble. It definitely makes sense. I just see sometimes people just build it out like for no reason. It's like, oh, but this Orianna, she might get 2 Qs on me within these 4 seconds. I'm like, nope, that's completely useless.
Not worth.
Go Spirit Visage, go Abyssal Scepter. But yes, against things like Cassiopeia, we could definitely see it.
It's one of the few champions I would like to see it on. Alphari and Expect trading. Equalizers on cooldown for Expect. Alphari's still got that Dominus available. Keep in mind that he's down 23 CS. The double kills are helping out, but on a lane bully to be losing lane fairly heavily thanks to the impact of Trick, that's a good sign for G2.
So Maxlore started up this Rift Herald there, even though it is warded by G2, and you can see how G2 are running towards it. The rest of Misfits are not committing around it. This actually gives G2 a chance to fight.
Teleports coming in from the red buff. Maxlore's got the Rift Herald down to 3,000. Mithy's going to get the support of PerkZ and Expect very, very shortly. Winds of War starts to tag out Maxlore, and the Equalizer cuts off his escape route. The Rift Herald is the focus of Trick as Expect shuts down Maxlore. Heroic entrance gets PerkZ over the wall. Now Expect is doing a fight with the Herald. Alphari's up in the top lane. Trick is on a killing spree. He's got another. Sven is able to take down the Herald as here comes PowerOfEvil. His petrifying gaze has already been used. Arrow goes wide. PerkZ decides to re-engage with the Feather Storm, locks it down, and Sven is on the board.
Well, Misfits, they felt so confident they would just get that Rift Herald without anyone from G2 even showing up to fight. But there was a ward on it, and we had Mithy on the way. We had the deep TP ward as well. So Misfits felt a little bit too confident that they were just going to secure that Rift Herald and actually allowed G2 to then invest basically everything to get a very good fight in their favor now. 6 kills on the side of G2 at 11 minutes. Last game was 4-1 until like, what, 30 minutes into the game almost? A lot more kills in this one.
Last game was about playing the map. This time it's playing the champions.
Look, you can see the bot lane from Misfits. They started recalling. They're like, yeah, we got this one, boys. It's free. No one is going to fight for it. And then Hansama completed his recall. IgNar cancels, so he's actually out of the fight before it even starts. Alphari ends up TPing in as well. They invest everything to try and get the first kill. And split calls from Misfits and just feeling a little bit too safe in that river very early on, despite the time it actually takes for Lee Sin to solo down the Rift Herald.
G2 end up winning the fight. We'll watch this back end. Sven jumps in with that Feather Storm. closes out. He gets the first kill of the fight. He was also the last hit onto Herald. We caught the picture-in-picture there. Rift Herald was summoned in the mid lane.
Yeah,
it got one boop onto the outer turret and then got instantly killed where it stands. Not the most efficient use. However, fire and forget. G2 very clearly not willing to invest more than that. Flash forward from PerkZ because Expect lands a great equalizer. However, Expect gets stunned down by the petrifying gaze. And that just looked really easy.
And it goes back to that fight we just saw before here. It cost so much because Misfits used so many summoners as well. This was a Cassiopeia, no cleanse, no flash, sitting in lane. PerkZ able to set up an easy kill here for G2 eSports. And that's how again one play just snowballs into much more. That was now Rift Herald damage on mid tower, into follow-up kill on Cassiopeia, into taking mid tower, all based around that play from before near the Rift Herald itself.
It all started with Maxlore. Now IgNar and Trick are going to fight, yeah. Let me rephrase that. Trick is going to try kill IgNar. There ain't no fighting about it. Rocket Grab just goes wide because the man I was talking about, Maxlore, in the previous game had a significantly stronger impact. Helped out with First Blood. He had his largest gold advantage at 15 minutes this split, and then went on to set up a phenomenal number of kills and kicks and really help Misfits close out the mid to late game. Now he's going to do it from a 4,000 gold deficit.
That is very true, and it is in fact a 3,000 gold deficit.
Thank you very much.
I'm going to say 3.5, so we meet in the middle. 3.5.
Look, as long as you're technically correct, that's fine.
I just know, Trevor, whenever you say anything related to math, I'm like always looking at being like, wait, he's probably
panicking for a second.
He's probably wrong. He's probably wrong. I'm like, yeah, no, he was wrong.
There's a reason that I talk about video games and I'm not a scientist or a mathematician or anything.
I mean, there's a lot of math in League of Legends.
That's why I talk. Have you heard? There's a saying in English, Deficio, those that can't do, teach. And the idea is, if you're not good enough to actually do it, you try to teach other people to be good enough.
Despite you not being good enough.
Correct, correct.
So I prefer...
I don't really know why it's a thing in English, but it just is.
That's a really weird thing, because I prefer having a teacher who knows what he's doing and can actually do it, and then he tries to teach you that.
I mean, that makes sense, but if they're good enough to do it, they'll be playing, right? It's a philosophical discussion.
That's fair.
It is. And the philosophical discussion...
But at some point, they got to stop and then teach others.
Well, we'll find out who's teaching whom this game. Because Maxlore taught...
And if the person actually knows anything or not. That's what we got to figure out.
Yeah, I think we're a few layers too deep on this story, Deficio.
I do assume your math teacher wasn't very good at math.
Maxlore was teaching G2 a lesson in Game 1. And now G2 are teaching him a lesson in Game 2.
Let's pair Maxlore up with IgNar.
Okay.
IgNar also had some sick plays, and now they're looking to do exactly the same with the Blitzcrank, just a discount version of the Thresh.
The problem is, when you have a Blitzcrank that's this far behind...
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
It becomes like nearly impossible.
Because the enemy team normally will get a lot of vision control, and they can always see the Blitzcrank. This time around, though, he's hiding on a control ward, so they don't actually know he's sitting right there. Is there a moment for IgNar to make the big play? So far, he's going to get spotted by this little ward.
Look at all of the wards in the right-hand quadrant of the jungle for G2. If anyone from Misfits makes their way down that direction, Trick and Expect are going to have all the information to work with. PerkZ is currently playing wave clear duty in the top lane. And to go back to that IgNar point and Blitzcrank, in Game 1, his Thresh was great. You know, mid-game was all about Maxlore, mid to late game was all about IgNar, death sentence after death sentence. 1-0-11, 85% kill participation. Unfortunately, he's not had the same start to this game or the same impact yet, and it's going to be much more difficult because of how far behind the team is.
Yeah, funny enough, it's not been his fault by any means. You know, the top lane fights have gone kind of in favor of G2, and then that Rift Herald play, which obviously was a team decision by Misfits, ended up costing them everything, basically. They can go back and look at that specific play and say, okay, guys, what went wrong here? Why did we not just all go in and try and hit the Rift Herald and finish it? Why do we feel so confident? Blah, 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 blah. Now they have to try and fight their way back, and once again, IgNar's kind of sitting around with no vision.
All right, Trick is the man that gets Rocket Grab. Heroic entrance will buy enough time for Trick to survive. Summers joined the fight on the right. Zven can fire that Featherstorm if necessary, and he does. But IgNar's already dead. Trick is traded. It's 1-for-1. Mithy, Zven, PerkZ, they're running down Misfits. Summer forced to flash for his life. PowerOfEvil gets another in reply. 2 for 2 thus far, and G2 are looking for an objective.
Yeah, we just talked about how this Blitzcrank was still sitting around control wards, not really being spotted. exactly where he was on the map by G2 eSports, but they obviously knew something was going to happen because they started calling, you know, okay, we're going to go in here and face check, fight will break out, and we saw instant ulti from PerkZ as well. 2 for 2 though, because PowerOfEvil came in from top lane, and no one from G2 around to actually kill him. I think Expect went one way, and the rest of the team went the other way. So this is where G2 are collapsing. They know there's a high chance someone gets hooked here and might die, but they want to take the fight anyway. And they get the first kill, and now, notice how everyone from G2 runs down to kill Hansama, and Expect is kind of left behind by the team. Alphari onto him with PowerOfEvil, and that's why it becomes a 2 for 2. G2 splitting up a lot, but they're now trying to get something top lane.
All right, tower should fall to minions. It's a couple of hits away. Rocket grab connects onto PerkZ, but he's very beefy. There's not enough damage to take him down yet. So G2 able to secure the top outer turret and escape with their lives. They maintain a sizable gold lead. There's an Infernal Dragon coming up in the next few minutes to complement the Mountain and Infernal they've already secured. And for G2, they're pretty happy with this. They got the kills. It was an even trade, but they got the tower as well.
It's kind of been the story of the game here. Been some even trades. I saw the big team fight going for G2. And then they've been able to get double Drakes, 3 towers to 0 as well. And we're getting a bit of a classic G2 series where that first game, you're like, man, they play like garbage. What's happening? And then they managed to kind of turn it around very quickly. And then look much better in the second game. Misfits, though, still have some tools. Whenever you play with Blitzcrank, you always feel like there's that comeback potential. One little hook into maybe a Baron start.
It's going to be difficult, though, because IgNar does not want to catch PerkZ or Mithy. Either of whom would be happy to throw down some spells in the back line.
Yeah, and catching Rumble is not that great either, because he will try and spam Hourglass. Catching Xayah means she will ulti as soon as she actually gets pulled in, or even before she gets pulled in. And Trick, well, he might be your best bet. Obviously, he can try and go stealth, and you might not be able to actually kill him in time.
Potentially could leap away.
And then we have to remember, whenever someone gets hooked in, PerkZ will ulti on the guy, and that's a 40% damage reduction ulti.
Something else that we've not talked about, and something that we're starting to talk more and more about, is this Galio delivery system. Some champions synergize so well, the LeBlanc clone, something that we saw at MSI a few times that was awesome.
Saw it in Europe a few times.
Yeah, some more recently. But I love the idea of Trick stealthing up on a flank and then having Galio land on his head. There we go. That's the Mithy engage, as we've already talked about. Featherstorm goes out. Blade Caller backwards. Hansama is rooted temporarily, but the damage is a little slow to catch up. Trick hops over the wall with IgNar. He goes down, so does Hansama. Maxlore, Winds of War, sidestepped, he walks away from! And that's why he thinks he's the best jungler in Europe. The mechanics. The mechanics.
This actually means Maxlore can get full HP, get back on the map, and maybe try and go for some sort of steal here. If Misfits can actually delay the Baron going down. He's on the way with home guards. The rest of Misfits around the Baron itself.
Oh, Alphari's going in with dominance. The Baron's going far too low, far too quickly. It's already secured. Alphari's the target, and it's PerkZ that gets the kill.
They tried. They tried, but G2 eSports looking very good in this game here. PerkZ specifically on the Galio. Another flash taunt in that fight. Let's see it again. So, yeah, we just talked about how every single member kind of has a way to get out of this, or maybe wants to get hooked. And if you are playing Braum, getting hooked is not a bad thing. It just lines up a very easy ulti for Mithy onto Hansama. He gets bursted down, and obviously while the fight is happening between Trick and IgNar, look at PerkZ down the bottom lane. Taunt up, flash in onto the two guys. That's kill secured for G2 eSports, and both PerkZ and Trick have been able to get a lot of kills.
I'm so glad we got that little discussion out about which champions can get hooked and the combination. I know it's fairly obvious, but it is beautiful to watch happen. And now all of a sudden, Maxlore's caught up between a Galio and a Kha'Zix. Winds of War won't take him down yet. Let's see how quickly Maxlore can run around the circle.
Not very quickly.
Very quickly, unfortunately. And that's just yet another kill for Misfits. 0-4-3 for Maxlore. Adaptive Helm picked up there for PerkZ.
It is, in fact, Abyssal Mask.
Thank you, thank you.
Because we decided to change it. It's no longer a scepter. So we obviously had to change the icon as well, and it is now a weird-looking mask.
It is indeed.
I don't know why.
Kind of looks like Baron and Herald, actually.
Yeah, it's actually true. We like that theme right now. But why not just keep it Abyssal Scepter? Dracos seem to believe it's because you can't be defensive with the Scepter. But I'm like, are you defensive with the mask? You don't have a mask on to be aggressive and scare people.
I actually don't know what the definition... What is the difference between like a scepter and a wand, for example? Like, is the stick that Gandalf carries a scepter? See what I mean? I don't know.
Right.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, you can definitely be defensive with it.
You can indeed. G2 don't want to be defensive. They're sieging 3 lanes. Teleports available top and middle. And they've got a huge, huge, huge lead against Misfits. It's nearly 10,000 gold at 23 minutes. It feels like just a matter of time before this multi-lane pressure knocks over these turrets.
Yeah, it's the point where you always start talking about game 3 as the teams, the coaches figuring out the draft for game 3 already, kind of realizing that a comeback here would be very unlikely to happen when you're this far down. And so many members of G2 eSports are not really afraid of IgNar at this point.
They are not. Mithy doesn't even need to get hooked, he just jumps right in. Special Fisher goes down, G2 flanking from the side. Expect is looking to roast Hans Summer, and PowerOfEvil goes golden with the hourglass. PerkZ flashes forward, dashes forward rather. They managed to take down PowerOfEvil, they managed to take down the inhibitor. And as good as Misfits' late game was, G2 are stomping them in game 2. PerkZ is going to throw down the heroic entrance. Hans Summer gets burned where he stands. Featherstorm into Blade Caller. Zven gets 1. The rest of Misfits dash onto the fountain to heal up. It's not even 24 minutes into the game, and G2 eSports strike back, sending a message to Misfits.
G2 eSports, they look angry in this game here. Tired of losing here in Europe after going down to first Fnatic, and then that first game against Misfits, which was actually a very one-sided game in favor of Misfits once we got past early stages. This one, on the other hand, like we talked so much about it, that Rift Hell fight gave G2 such a huge lead, all based around Misfits, just kind of recalling and saying, yeah, it's fine, we got it, it's a solo. You know, we're gonna take it down. Lost summoners, which meant they didn't lost the mid lane tower and PowerOfEvil, and that was like, what, 3-4k gold swing.
Yeah.
No time.
And it again brings me back to a discussion that we had in the previous game around Misfits looking fantastic in one game and then looking terrible in another. The question we asked, where do you rank the players? They have the potential to hit such high highs. And then Misfits also have the potential to have such low lows. Because a game that was even 30 minutes against G2, the next time around, G2 win in 24.
I don't think this game, though, really comes down to individual skill on the side of Misfits.
This is teamwork, right?
This was just a team call that was really bad, and this got massively punished. And then once you fell behind, with your Blitzcrank kind of pick composition, against also Galio mid that was super fit, well then you can't really kill anything. Like Ashe against Galio mid, it's just like, it's the most boring fight for Ashe ever because you're not dealing damage to him. So no one on the side of Misfits could actually take down G2 once G2 got fit. And that was kind of the thing. So the team call was what backfired right here for Misfits.
The communication, the call, stick on Herald, lose the game. That's what happened for Misfits. That's how G2 came back to even out the series. Tell us a little bit more, Shocks.
Well, I think you said it all there. No, we do want to kind of continue on what Martin brought up there, and the fact also in picks and bans that it's seen that although Misfits went for a kind of similar comp things that had been working for them in game 1, G2 found more answers, is what you mentioned.
Right, there's more answers, and also the key difference that a lot of people will look at Blitz and Thresh and say, okay, they have hooks, surely they do the same job. Well, Thresh is just straight up better at doing that, like playing defensively as well. You have a lot of utility alongside using the Lantern. So with the Blitzcrank, you're a lot more all in on that first ability hitting. And then from there, Deficio and QuickShot touched on it a lot in the game. Galio, you don't want to hook. Braum, you don't want to hook. You run out of options. And that means that somebody else has to be the setup for the carry. And a lot of the plays that we broke down with Maxlore from game 1 had a lot of emphasis from IgNar as well, and that synergy just didn't seem to be on the same page.
Yeah, great point. And we talked about Delusion pick for PerkZ and the fact that he was figuring out the meta. What do we think of Galio in, like, stylistically as a pick for PerkZ?
Stylistically as a pick for PerkZ,
it's odd.
It's not the guy that I would anticipate, but Galio as a pick in the mid lane is super strong. Same with the top lane. Like, this pick is very difficult to deal with because it has generally a good laning phase. It's only really Fiora in the top lane that can deal with it very well. And you can see that PerkZ kind of doesn't have to do much. He loves to be active in the game, but consider that you've got a Xayah, you've got a Rumble that's winning in the top lane. Like, PerkZ just needs to at least go even, and is able to have this massive impact in fights. And I think stylistically, he's probably going to get bored if he has to play 10 games with Galio. But every now and
welcome
again,
to Top Laner Life.
every now and again for G2, it's going to work out perfect.
Yeah, and it's also interesting because you mentioned we can't really say X or Y stood out like Maxlore did for Misfits and IgNar in game one, because it was very much a team effort. And unfortunately for Misfits, also kind of unlucky decision around the Rift Herald. They thought they had the all clear in going for that objective, but that was not the case.
And this is one of the problems with at least soloing Rift Herald, is it's going to take you long enough that as long as G2 feel like they're in a position, look, there's no dragon to take, there's no towers that are easily accessible for them, so they can contest this very easily, and Misfits kind of hand it over to them on a silver platter. You can see PerkZ doesn't have to do a whole lot in this fight, just gets the damage reduction down early on, delays the rest of Misfits so the rest of the team can pick up Rift Herald, and from there, realistically, Misfits should just be backing out now. They're getting a little bit greedy because they're thinking if the arrow hits Trick, but then don't respect the Xayah and the taunt that comes from Galio, and there's just enough damage on G2 to close that fight very easily, and from there, that's the turning point of the game. G2 were able to get more picks like that and really punish Misfits heavily.
It's quite interesting to me as well. We saw, Rift Herald, if we look over the 3 weeks, first, not that high of a priority. Then secondly, the good teams started taking it, and we said, oh, yeah, it does make an influence, but not as big. And now we're seeing that teams are starting to make more mistakes around the objective as well. As it has a higher priority, it opened up for a lot more oopsies.
Yeah, and I think a lot of teams have had very different opinions. It's funny, a lot of the Group B teams at the top, the Unicorns, H2K, had a little lower priority on it. In interviews, they were talking about how Rift Herald not quite such a big thing because it takes so much time. And now we just see every team go, oh, Rift Herald's available, I'm just going to start it. And then a minute later, the enemy team jumps in, steals it away. I've seen that a couple of times.
Or like PerkZ, you can fail to release it unluckily, so and then you lost it. That was very unfortunate. But here, G2, they have all the cards in their hands, and they're all aces. They're going to win more and more fights as the game goes on. And here we see again, yeah, you have the hook, but then it's pretty much over for you as Blitzcrank.
Yeah, this is IgNar trying to play 52-card pickup off the floor at this point, and there wasn't a whole lot to grab onto. So Hansama, there's not a whole lot Hansama could have done in this fight as soon as that hook goes through and the Galio ult comes on. Maxlore, he had to try and prove he's the best, just getting around the wings of war there. Even Maxlore knows that even in a losing game, he can still show off a little bit. But for Misfits, the key thing is the fact that there's not really been any fight in the last 10 minutes of this game that they actually felt like they were winning. A couple of them, PowerOfEvil, a little late to the fight. Alphari, a little hesitant to go in. And ultimately, it just means that the strength, the consistency we saw in Game 1 out of Misfits didn't show up in Game 2.
Which means that we're back at the inconsistency point, and also what we were pointing out beforehand, the fact that they can't seem to be able to keep it going. It is all or nothing. It is one person, as was it last week rather, also versus Rocket. I remember Cassiopeia going absolutely off, and then of course all the rest of the team gets enabled to make plays. In Game 1 it was Maxlore, so do you see the Misfits coming back in this, and who is it going to come from in Game 3, or is G2 just absolutely on a rampage now?
I think it's possible for Misfits to come back. If they're on blue side, you either give up Thresh and take something else as a support that isn't necessarily the Blitzcrank, or try and secure that as first pick for themselves. I think that's what Misfits should look for. Something that is still an engaged tool that isn't necessarily so all-in like the Blitz. But honestly, I feel like G2 found the groove here. I think G2 with a solid draft will just play the game out consistently and show up as the #1 team in Europe that we've seen time and time again.
Well, we'll see if that happens. Misfits Gaming and G2 are in a very close fight. The deciding battle is coming up right after this.